Good evening, everyone out there in Facebook and YouTube land and our Issues Room page. We want to welcome all of you wonderful people to another edition of the Issues Room. This evening is the 11th edition of discussions here in the Issues Room. Again, we're back and it's great. We want you, our viewers and our listeners, to chime in. Come on, and let's know that you're there because I'm not alone in this. Let me just bring in my folks, Moses Sandy, Massa Washington. Tonight's discussion going to center around honesty and integrity. And I tell you, we're going to have a wonderful time because we have some very important guests who will come in here tonight to chime in and give their weigh in on the discussion. But it has to do with uh, a situation that took place in Liberia a few days ago regarding an exemplary action by a young man, or should have been a group of young men, but we'll delve into that a little more. So, Moses, welcome to the 11th edition. That quick, we getting there, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely, we are. And let's give Masa the opportunity to go ahead. Go ahead, Masa.
good evening, Fakando, and good evening, Moses. Fakando, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, as always. Hello to all of the friends of the Issues Room out there. Thank you very much for joining us every week, and we do appreciate you. And please stay with us for the ride.
Yeah, and I'd like to join Masa. Volcano, let me say hi to you and hi to our many listeners and viewers out there. It's pleasing to be back. And this time we come to discuss what? Honestly, a very interesting topic. It's good to be back.
Thank you. So let's delve into the discussion. I know a few other platforms have covered grounds, but we're going to have a twist tonight because of the guests we have and what has transpired over the last 24 hours. Um, the discussion tonight center around a young man who has taken center stage and globally. The name is Emmanuel Tuloe, who is from Nimba County. I believe in Nimba County you have District Number 6, and he lives in that uh, district regarding the way they distributed the districts and stuff in the county for the legislature. Accordingly, he and another guy and some people were coming from a traditional wedding, and on the way back to their destination, they spotted a bag that was pink in color because the other guy described the bag, but it had fallen slightly out of a plastic bag. And they stopped and asked the female passenger to go down and grab the bag. And the lady took the bag. They did not look in the bag, but the story, is not getting there yet. And
Yeah.
so they go to this place, according to Tulo, and around the checkpoint area, they check what the bag was, and it was money. Accordingly, they gave the money to a lady. It was not clear. At one point, we thought it was a family member, but the other guy said the lady, Miss Felicia, is was the head of the delegation that may have gone uh, to this traditional wedding, and Miss Felicia kept the money for precisely 2 days because they felt that this money may have been loaned to someone, and they would listen to the media to see if someone will come forth. And accordingly, Musu Yanse came forth declaring that the money was hers and that she would give $1,500 to whoever finds the money. And of course, they went and met with Musu. Again, we don't know who all went, whether Felicia went, whether the new guy called Emmanuel Thorpe and, Emmanuel Tulo, went to see Musu. But according to Tulo, they met with her. She gave the $1,500 and believe a mattress, and they left. But the money was not disbursed according to the other guy because Felicia felt that too many people were around, but they later got the money. From Tulo, he said that $1,000 was given to the rest of the people, and he took 500. Who were those other people? We don't know. So center stage now is built around Emmanuel Tulo, but there's a guy who is coming, but we'll delve into that. So I just wanted to give a little background of the story from what we've gathered, the research, and all of the videos that trending on social media. So guys, I gave you a minute or two to weigh in before we bring our studio guest, and then we'll go to the video, the first video of Emmanuel Tuloe, who's being interviewed by a local radio station that I believe in Nimba County. Who going first? Masa, Moses?
Okay, I will come in first, and I think we need to tell our audience and viewers how much are we talking about here. We're talking about 50,000 US dollars and more than 100,000 Liberian dollars that Emmanuel Tuloe and his colleagues. But what we heard initially, it was Emmanuel who found this money. But if you watch the initial video, the initial interview, there was a gentleman called Emmanuel Top. He was also in that interview. And then Emmanuel said, we found the money. And the other gentleman were also saying that, hey, we found the money. So we don't know who is saying what, but what is of importance here is the issue of integrity, the uprightness, the role, especially coming from the third world country where you have extreme poverty. Emmanuel, all of these gentlemen come from Nimba County, and Nimba is one of the 15 counties of Liberia. That is significantly challenged when you talk about economic resources. Emmanuel comes from a very impoverished family, and for Emmanuel and a group of people to even brave the storm, that hey, we have found $50,000 that can just turn our lives around in split second, and decide to say we're going to look for whoever that owns this money to turn it over. I think it was commendation. It's highly commendable. This means that there are good things. There are good people in Liberia. I think it is commendable.
Masa?
To you, Volcano. Definitely, when I first saw the story trending on social media last week, of course, it immediately claimed the attention of myself, but everybody else, because here we are, this little country that quote unquote tends to have this stigma of integrity and honesty. And in the middle of this abject poverty, because when you look at the young man, Emmanuel, in fact, both of the videos that are trending now, when you look at Emmanuel Tuloe, the first young man, he's actually standing and giving his interview in the midst of abject poverty. His environment is decadent. He looks very poor, and this is someone who I think he's 18 years old and he's in the seventh or eighth grade. Those are all issues that speaks for the extent of the poverty from where he was born and grew up. And then also when you look at subsequent videos of the other young fella, and then even just the neighborhood, just the surrounding alone. And so it's admirable to see that in the midst of abject poverty and in the midst of a country that has a stigma for corruption, for living with, endemic corruption, it is definitely a huge thing for these people to find this money. 50,000 is not a small money in Liberia. It was 50,000, like Moses said, and then also 100,000 Liberian dollars. So they found this money and they kept this money, waiting to hear if anyone would claim it, obviously. And they were honest enough, to bring the money forth. So I'm looking at the issue of, the background, the country's background, and then also the act itself.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have three important people in society that will join us here tonight to, just weigh in as to what it means for Liberia, its image, and so forth. I'll go now straightly to add in our studio guest. Dr. Alexander Red of the Gracious Hope Bible Fellowship, uh, a Liberian journalist himself. Good evening and welcome, Dr. Red.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here on this platform.
And then I will go to Bishop George Donald Harris of the Philadelphia Church Ministries International, who is currently in Liberia. Welcome, Bishop.
Thank you.
Thank you for
It's an
coming.
honor to be on this platform. I'm happy to be on
Thank
this
you.
platform.
Thank you. And then I will go to Mr. James Koiyan, and he is uh, a member of the uh, Union for Liberians here in the Americas, ULAA. And I believe your position is the external, Mr. Koiyan, external.
Um,
Uh, I
He's
can't hear
not,
you.
I think he's mute.
You muted your own mic. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm the External Affairs Chairman designate for the Union.
Okay, external affairs. So this is a wonderful discussion to hold tonight. We've all followed the story, I believe, because at some point all of you've been following. But let's start on the issue of what I would consider magnanimity, right? A
Yeah.
young man or group of young men, as we go further, we'll get to know that there were many people involved because there are other, you know, information coming. But let's just start with a young man who is now taking center stage. Uh, what he did. What does it mean for Liberia image? And you know, how important is this for the society, considering when Massa said that our society, you know, is plagued with corruption at the leadership level, but she always say that it starts at the community level. What does it mean for us as a country? And let's just start with Dr. Red. And
Oh,
I know
well,
you'll be speaking from a spiritual Christian perspective. Am I right?
of course.
Okay, all right.
Yes, the foundation of everything that we speak should come from the truth. And we know that the truth is integrity. I did watch the entire video of the young man. He's a man of little words. Um, but I commend, first of all, the president of our country, George Weah, for picking up on that right away to invite the young man and to let the Liberian people know and the entire world know that this man can serve, or this young man can serve as a model of honesty or integrity. Now, it is one thing for us to praise him, and it's another thing for us to actually believe in what he has done. Now, we have a country that is impoverished and the populace is ravished by disease like the pandemic, from Ebola to the current COVID, civil war, and you can just name a whole myriad of problems our country, has faced. Nevertheless, this came not by surprise. I know it is surprising to every one of us, but it is not surprising to God. And I believe that everything that we see as history making is ordained by God in a sense. Now, this young man, nobody knew him, okay? And he did something that was so marvelous, something that claimed the attention of every one of us of where we are if we actually examine our hearts. Now, our country, with everything that we have been through, all the turmoil and all the suffering, the pain, the hardship, we have not yet come to grip with the reality that we are a nation of people that is being set apart by our living God. And I say so because if you look at our Constitution, it says from the beginning in the preamble that our country is being guided and is given by God Himself. It says it right there. So our survival and our progress depend on the sovereign God, His grace. It said right in the preamble. Now, have we actually followed the precepts or the principles upon which our country established? No, we have faltered in many ways because of why? one thing sin. Now, what does it mean, or what is the implication? If we look at this young man showing honesty by returning the money, it means a whole lot. And the president said that very succinctly. He said, I will make this man, he will work for the government, or he will be a model, and I will give him scholarship. But it is not all of the money and scholarship that is being given that our attention should be to. Our attention should be on what caused this young man to stand out among everyone in the country and internationally. It is because of the virtue of integrity. And I'm glad that we are talking about this because our country right now lacking of one thing, and that is truth. And another thing is love, lack of truth. Now, do people now believe that we have a government or a church that both working hand in hand to move the country forward? Since all of the turmoil been going on, a lot of people will have different opinion or diversity of opinion. But again, what is missing in our country is truth, and the truth is integrity. And without integrity or without the truth, we are vulnerable to the enemy, Satan, and that is what plaguing our country. So God, in His sovereign grace and might, raise up this young man from the village to show us, say, hey, this is what it means to be honest. Whether you're a church leader, whether you're a government official, whether you, whatever position you occupy in that country, whether it's a nonprofit organization, we must learn how to serve with integrity in every aspect of our livelihood.
Thank you, Doc. So Masa come in and talk with Bishop Donald, and then Moses will come in and talk with James. So what would be your question for him?
My question for Bishop Harris is that Bishop, at this time, considering the entire situation, how would you define, as a man of God, how would you define honesty for us in terms of what this young man or he and his colleagues have done?
Well, today is very interesting in our country, Liberia, as you look at the story, and there are a lot of pieces that need to be put together. It's like a puzzle. And from the narrative, this puzzle is very, very interesting to the point where it has caught national and international attention. But in the face of putting this puzzle together, we see one thing stands out, that someone who came across something that did not belong to them brought it to public viewing and the knowledge of the public from a sincere heart. And as a Christian, this is noble, this is worth giving so much attention to, this is worth employing, because in our times, morals are being looked down upon. People do not uphold virtues like truth, openness, and as a Christian, righteousness, if I use the word, right standing, clarity, sincerity. So we say this boy, this young man displayed honesty. In other words, we are saying he was open, he was truthful, he was not selfish, he was conscious that whatever he came across, whether he or them, did not belong to the individual, but belonged to someone else. And it was their responsibility to not take it to themselves, which display selflessness and the lack of greed. We are in a society now where everyone is trying to grab for himself as much as he can grab. This is so uncommon. And so we actually applaud his efforts, and we thank God that in the face of the poverty that has hit our nation in Africa and deceit, there is still someone, or there are still people who are honest, who are sincere, who are not greedy, So, in a synonym for for honesty would be selflessness, the absence of greed, the virtue of truth and sincerity. So those are
Thank you, Moses.
Yeah, Mr. Koiyan, you represent the Union of Liberian Associations in the Americas, ULA. ULA is the biggest Liberian organization in the Americas. Uh, how will ULA respond to this heroic action by Emmanuel and his colleagues who turned over $50,000 to a businesswoman? How would ULA react to that?
Well, thank you again. Let me thank you and the rest of the panelists for the invitation. To Mr. to Mr. Kamara, who is the president of ULA. He can't be here tonight, so he asked me to sit in for him as his External Affairs chairman designate to discuss this issue. I come from the background of fraud examination myself, integrity in general. So I can tell you excellently, this is a worthy experience for all of us as a nation. We want to thank Emmanuel and his colleagues who are honest enough to make this a reality. It is not too easy. And I want to also thank the president for recognizing what the young man did. And the president jokingly said, during our days, you wouldn't find this easily happening. And if you saw you were going to school, walking from Buzikota to Tottenham High, and you saw $50 on the street, you think it's your luck, not knowing someone just lose that money. But this is this is actually good for our nation. It speaks to the fact that there are still good people in Liberia. I know there are a lot of confrontation today about another food coming out and saying, well, I was part of the group that funded the money. Emmanuel Tuloe did not say he did it alone. That is why when they returned the money, they got $1,500. He took
$1,000.
$500 of the money and get the rest to his colleagues who were all on it. But he said we're in a convoy. But he found the money. And so the fact that he found the money, that tells you he's not a selfish young man. He's open enough to share what he had. When the president met him, whatever they gave him, I think I maybe I overheard someone saying he also agreed to share some of that money with his friends. But he wanted to come back to Monrovia because he was being mocked by his colleagues that he would never be rich, he's going to die poor. So from the standpoint of the union, we believe that this is laudable. We want to thank Emmanuel Tuloe and his colleagues for exhibiting this level of honesty. We want to thank the president of Liberia, General President Emmanuel, for recognizing this honest young man, rewarding him. What is now left as a union for us is to call on the LACC, the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, to tap into this young man, use him as an informational agent, or call him maybe an anti-corruption czar. Take him to the schools, take him to the community, and let him tell them what it is to be an honest young person in your age, in poverty. The one like my bishop just said, in poverty, he could still return his money. That is the true definition of what you call honesty. The General Auditing Commission also has currently a school program where they move from school to school to teach young students about honesty, telling them what it takes to be as honest as you can, try to divorce yourself as much as you can from corruption, doing the wrong things. Corruption is not just stealing or taking money. Corruption is just doing anything that is against the norms of society. And so in this instance, it is money. $50,000, that is $1. So I believe both agencies can tap into this young man. Since the president has hired him to work and serve as a correctional czar, they can work with him, get into the communities, and educate his colleagues. Liberia will change gradually. I mean, I believe if you can do it, somebody else can also do it. I mean, the fact that you can go to Monrovia and you are careful with your cell phone. You know, nobody goes to Monrovia and you driving your car, put your cell phone there. Yeah, you can't do that easily. You're going to lose it. Yeah. I mean, I drove on the Gardensville Road and I almost lost my cell phone. Just sitting in my car waiting for the traffic. This is the level of country I've reached. It is not happening now today. It's been happening for time immemorial. But the union believes that we can also work with some of these agencies to see how we can marshal resources to put into some of these organizations and help our young people. They need it.
Do you?
Thank you.
Yeah. Quickly, maybe a follow-up thing. Mr. Koiyan, do you agree that what Emmanuel has done has elevated the discussion of honesty in the public sector at a different level?
I do believe so. That discussion has always been in Liberia. Everyone has been complaining about corruption. There's a need for, to stem down corruption. President Selly said corruption is public enemy number one. President Weakim, he said the same old thing. But what the young man just did, I think that is why the president called him specifically to tell him what you did has elevated the conversation. All of us now need to follow your footsteps. Whether you're in government or out of government, it is incumbent upon all of us to follow the footsteps of this young man. What is not yours, let it be. And what is yours, use what is yours and leave the public funds or public things alone. I mean, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help the generation because what he's getting now, 50,000, we're not giving it to him. He has gotten a reputation to represent his country, his fellow young people. He's going to get his house for his aunt. He's going to go to school with a master's degree. 50,000 would have been blown up, and that'll be it. I think it's elevated the conversation.
So let me just go to one of the videos here. Are you guys able to see the video, right?
Those who are
Yes,
following
we do.
this is
Okay.
Nima TV. We are coming to you live here in Tapeta City, Lower Nima County, West Africa. My name is Jonathan Golson. 2 days ago, a business woman by her name, Ma Musu Yansen, lost over 30,000 plus. And this money have been found just this morning by one of the cyclists. So he will tell us how this whole thing happened. Good morning and welcome to our microphone. Your name? Emmanuel, can you please try to me? Yeah, Emmanuel. Your name?
Emmanuel Tuloe.
Okay, Emmanuel, tell us how this morning business happened. Where did you find this morning?
I'm a second year.
Between what grade? Okay. So, how ready you feel about bringing this morning back? Wow. So how ready this morning was look? It was it in bag or what?
We are in bed. We are in bed.
The morning was up. So how you manage to know that this morning is for Musu Yansi? So you have this information on VOT, right? Wow. Okay, let's talk with I guess he is your brother, right? Can you please tell all your name?
Emmanuel Tuloe.
Emmanuel who?
Emmanuel Tuloe.
From where?
From Guadalajara.
Wow.
Yes, I was coming. We went on Cathedral wedding on our way back between last time. Right between them, we were coming. We saw there on the ground. I saw the girl stop. And we took it there, checking it, and the money was in it. So I brought the money. Give to our owner. So we gave the money to her. We asked her, so how you want the money? So that we give the money. Then anybody can say the money for them, they can send the money over to them.
What is the name of your mother? Wow. So bringing the money back to the owner, how do you really feel? Because there is a huge money that will help you even to go abroad, to buy a car, to buy a motorbike, and you found this kind of a blessing. Bringing it back, how do you feel? Wow. How can you say your name again?
Emmanuel Tuloe.
What you have to tell those who are following you, those who are listening to you?
Well, I will tell them because for us, really,
Now, please, can go sit down. Tell them, okay, thank you so much.
yeah.
Let's see, speak your dialect. I want you to speak your dialect. Can you please speak your dialect?
Yeah.
Good.
So you see here there are two important people.
Right.
And the reason why I told to play this is because there is a degree of controversy right now regarding this other young man, saying that he is not basking in the glory and the accolades that Emmanuel Tuloe is enjoying. They both were in a convoy, and accordingly, because um, money was seen by all of them, and they stopped and asked one of the female passengers to go and get the bag. Now, accordingly, there were six uh, traveling. The motorbike rider, two people in the back, the one motorbike rider, two people in the back. But none of these other people are in the limelight. And this young man had an interview where he's claiming that he went to find Tulo for them to go to Monrovia to meet with President Weah. And accordingly, Tulo and his parents had left. And when he got there, he met Tulo grandmom, who said, "Oh, he gone to rob motorbike." And only for the guy to notice that Tulo was already on the news meeting with President Weah. So he too traveled to Monrovia and is also saying that he was not treated fair. So the reason I told to bring this in because he has one person being given all of the honesty, credibility here, but how did it happen that a second party, and if all of them had come in a group, I thought it would be better for that entire group because apparently everyone hand was in that money. If you think about a woman who kept the money, she could have used the money and said, "Come on, man, y'all get out of here. Y'all didn't give me no money." So there's a lot of things going on here, and I think this thing would take a new turn. Um, so let us analyze the situation here, and let's see how do we go forward with this. And again, as I said, in the coming days, there will be a lot more coming out of this conversation. But even though Tulos, took the lead to return the money, what happened with this guy now who is coming to claim that he was a part of this whole situation? So let Bishop coming.
Okay, the narrative is becoming more and more interesting in terms of participants. Um, as we look at it, there is a need to again, for the purpose of public attention, that there be a further investigation on the inclusion or the involvement of others. And I think it is but fair for Tulo to admit their involvement and whatever he has received from the president and whatever he may be receiving in time to come, just how he demonstrated a level of honesty by saying the first amount that was given to him, he shared it with the others. I think that needs to also be brought on the table. And that will really depict his continuous level of sincerity and honesty. Because in the absence of that, it may pose some problems, and we don't want that. So I think he will be open to do that, and I think the others should not approach it from the standpoint of trying to fight for the inclusion, but just admit the fact that, hey, listen, this thing happened, we were excited about it, no deal was done, but listen, there's a piece of the story that is not being given, and so there's a piece of the story, and so we take it from there, and I think that will be laudable. And then all those who should benefit from whatever a appreciation will be on the listing. But it does not change the fact that Emmanuel is the key character in this.
Yes.
So let's not dilute that. He is the key. And the president of Liberia has done a noble act by recognizing him and by appreciating him. By so doing, he is setting a precedent. He is bringing a new dimension into the public space. That listen, even from his high office, this thing should be applauded, this thing should be encouraged. And like someone said, probably he would be our in integrity
He says czar, the integrity
czar
czar.
or ambassador,
Yeah.
especially to the young people, and then even to those who are in national government and to those who are in the private sector, both the citizenry and the non-citizen, we can all emulate this example. I think what this young man has done is nothing less than what goes into the history. Liberia, there are still good people in Liberia. There are still honest people in Liberia. There are still noble people in Liberia. And so we shouldn't allow the bad apple to ruin the rest of the apples. And I think this is something that brings glory to God. Because from a Christian perspective, Jesus says, you will know the truth. And what will happen when you know the truth? It's the truth that will set you free. And integrity is high on it. The Bible tells us a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. And so this young man, as young as he has displayed such nobility and positive character. And we still applaud him. We still applaud him.
Thank you, Bishop. Just before one of my colleagues coming, I just want to read what one of our viewers here say. Hassan Kia will say, I may not know the entire story, but 1,000 persons can be at one place, but only one person may find the item. Besides, this thing has been announced a week ago. Facebook has been running it. Nobody has said anything to the contrary or stepped forward. Is it because he has been recognized and honored by the president, so people want to come out? They should have said something long ago. We should not allow this controversy to overshadow this young man's glory. Just thought to throw that in there. Masa, Moses?
Yeah. It's the same thought that I had, because I've been following this broadcast for more than a week. I know from the initial interview, the other gentleman now who is claiming to be a part of this whole arrangement was in an interview. I saw that video, but besides that, all of the other videos that came up, it has been Emmanuel Tuloe. And when I did listen to Emmanuel today, he said, look, when they turned the money over to the owner gave them $1,500, and he took $500 and gave $1,000 to his friends. So it means that Emmanuel is an individual, who doesn't bother sharing with other people. He's a very calm man. So I'm a little bit concerned that where have these people been? Emmanuel has been making the news. Where have these people been?
And the
So we really need a lot of investigation to really determine who is saying what.
All right.
However, what I do take from this whole thing here is the issue of integrity. Emmanuel is a very poor young man. He comes from a very impoverished family. He dropped out of middle school at grade 7. He's 19 years old. Reportedly, his dad is deceased. His mom struggles financially. You can see the environment in which Emmanuel lives. So for Emmanuel to turn over $50,000, it means a lot. So I think this need to be fully investigated to rather see whether somebody is trying to take advantage of him. That would be my proposition.
Masa?
Okay, I like to deconstruct matters, and I like to look at. I'm the kind of person who would be like the benefit of the that person, I did see the video last week. The same video that you just showed for Kano, that was the original video when they first introduced, I mean, when they first interviewed Emmanuel Tuloe. You can see his colleague was also in the video. He was also interviewed. In Emmanuel's interview, his initial interview, he said, "We found the money." He acknowledged the plural form, we. So we meaning he and someone else, or he and some other people. And then when they interview the second young man at that same time, he also actually expanded on Emmanuel's interview and he provided much more detail. But for me, I'm looking at it, people are asking why all these other people didn't come up. But don't forget, the media immediately, Emmanuel took the spotlight because he was the first person who was being interviewed. The media was not going to these other people, asking them, giving them the opportunity for an interview. Don't forget, these are upcountry boys. These are upcountry people. They don't know how these things work. Okay. And then secondly, they are all friends, they are colleagues. They work together, they protect each other. I spoke to a motorcycle boy from Monrovia today. I wanted to get some understanding because both of them were saying convoy, convoy. He said, sister, when they say convoy, it means that we always travel when we're going out of town. We travel in groups, either a group of 2, 3, or 4 because of safety reasons. So when the guy said convoy, that's what he meant. Now, my thing here is, at that point in time, if Emmanuel was the only one who had found the money, Emmanuel has had the opportunity with the media all the time. If you notice, Emmanuel is a quiet person. He doesn't speak a lot. And I think it's because he's a humble person. He's a decent person. But we, the rest of society, we have to tread very cautiously and very maturely so that we don't cause for nothing rift between the two young men. Already you can see the second young man gave his interview. Emmanuel did not dispute it. And the second young man said they had discussed coming to Monrovia, but then Emmanuel and his family left in the night and came to Monrovia, whereas he and his colleagues should have come to Monrovia the next morning, but Emmanuel's family brought him to town early. So I'm just looking at the element where, and sometimes, and maybe it's some of the problems we have in Liberia too. People do not just become corrupt because they are born corrupt. People learn to be corrupt. And people also learn integrity. People learn to be honest and have integrity because those values are instilled in us, but our parents, our communities, our churches, our mosques, as we are growing up. So those are all admirable human values that we learn. Now you have adults, they know that Emmanuel was with some, group of colleagues and this money thing happened. And if the president said, I would like to meet the young man or the boys who found the money, I don't think that the parents, Emmanuel parents, should have brought him to town in the night, you understand, without the rest of his colleagues, because doing that creates an element of suspicion. It creates an element of like maybe a little bit of jealousy. It's like, oh, they're trying to get all the glory for us because you see how it's going. And there was no need for it because, like Mr. Koiyan said, there's enough glory and there's enough benefits to go around. The government is the government. The government can give 1,000 scholarships at the time at the spot. So everybody would have gotten a scholarship from President Wee. I'm sure everybody would have gotten a huge purse and everybody would have gotten the spotlight. For me, I just want us to be careful here. Those of us who are considered quote unquote societal people, opinion leaders, intellectuals, journalists and stuff, let's be careful how we also state our own narrative so that we don't further vilify other people maybe who should have been part of this, but then in the meantime also completely throw or dirt on this beautiful story, because this is a feel-good story. This is a feel-good story. The most important thing here is whether Emmanuel was the only one who found the money or not, or whether his colleagues were part of finding the money or not. The idea is they turned the money over. That's the story.
And I think that's the consensus, because there would have been an anomaly, a person who would say, no, my man, y'all won't share, y'all just give me my own, y'all can go get it, y'all Christian code, So Alex coming, we're still on the moral piece.
Yes, I did understand from Emmanuel's interview.
I wanted to say something on what our sister just said. Let's just give me 30 seconds of your time. I want to disagree with Sis Massa on the issue of the travel time. You have a meeting with the president at 10 o'clock in the morning. What time you expect to leave Nimba? So I mean, the issue of what time they left Nimba it should not be an issue here.
The issue here, I think, Mr. Koiyan, the issue here is that Emmanuel Tuloe, Emmanuel Thorpe were together, and so if the family were moving toward Morovia, they could have said, let all of us go together.
That is my
That's
point.
the issue.
There was one invitation to Emmanuel Tuloe, not to the team of folks that found the money. The president invitation was, I want to see Emmanuel Tuloe.
It's because of the information that the president has heard, excuse me, of Wakanda, because you see, the president was acting in good faith. He was acting in good faith, and we do applaud the president. But the president acted in good faith based upon the information that he received that was, out there. So now the thing is, like Wakanda said, I think it would have been a nice thing if the family, I agree with you totally. If the president is meeting you the next day and you live in Nima County, you want to leave that night. So it wasn't, my emphasis was not like they left at night, but the thing is, you left without informing your other colleagues or, telling your other colleagues, hey, we got to leave tonight. My thing is, we have to be careful. We can see sometimes people are honest. They have integrity. By the way, honesty and integrity are two different things. They're not the same thing. Even though integrity, sucks from honesty a little bit, but they're not the same thing. They're two different things. Okay, so sometimes you see where people are honest in societies. Maybe someone goes to a workplace. He's a new director. Okay, he's known for his honesty. He's known for his integrity. He's known for being no nonsense, getting the job done, want to be sincere. But then he gets there. It's a rotting, corrupt environment, and he tries to do the right thing. What people do, the rest of them gang up on him and they put some kind of lie on him, sneak some story out in the media and say, oh, he was involved in corruption or whatsoever. Or better still, some of them put him on the side and hey, my man, you do this thing, you will not build no horse, you will not do this. And so at the end of the day, you corrupt that decent person who came in to make a difference. So what I'm saying here is the way the story is playing out, okay, I hope that I will be wrong at the end of the day, but I think that everybody who was involved in finding that money, even the woman who kept the money for 2 days. This is an established market woman. These boys are motorcyclists, quote unquote. Unfortunately, we don't value them. It's not like they don't have value, but we don't value them. So guess what? She could have taken that money, gone across the border, do anything with it. At the end of the day, it would have been her word against their word. Who would believe those boys? Nobody would believe them. But she also kept the money for 2 days along with them. So it was a whole group of them. You understand? So what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, there should be an investigation so that all of them who was involved in this, because I hear that, I'm understanding now that the young lady who was the passenger, who they asked bring that bag, let's see what's in the bag. She's also claiming she was there because guess what? She's also part of the founding of this money. So what I'm saying is why Emmanuel has gotten the spotlight, however way, but they should investigate. So at the end of the day, the rest of the, his colleagues who were also part of it should also benefit so that they don't feel discouraged about being honest and doing the right thing, so that they don't go be very disgruntled, turn against Emmanuel, or even starting to say, you know what, next time we will steal, we will do this, we'll do that, because look, we didn't get rewarded. That's why
let me just put it the lid over this, and here what it is. Emmanuel alone did not take the money to Musu Yanse. The group went to Musu Yanse. Felicia was with the group, the woman who kept the money. So they got $1,000. Emmanuel got 500. So that tells you that people were involved. And at what point now these people are cut off? Again, like Massa said, it is the media. The way the story was carried, one man took center stage, and so the president was encouraged to meet that one man. But I mean, more will come from this story because the other young men say he got to see President Weah. If it caused him to sit at Jamaica Road every day until he meet with him, he got to get his own cut. Because how did one man can get 2 motorbikes and he even got bicycle? So he got to get his cut because all of them were in that convoy. But Ellis coming.
I listened to
the
young man.
The humor in.
I listened to the young man Emmanuel, and the presentation of his bikes and scholarship money and cash. And in that interview, at the end of that interview, he said who were in the convoy, and I saw the money. He said he saw it, and then he took the bag and took it to his auntie. Okay, and his auntie kept it, and so they were waiting to see who had the money, or who would where, or who dropped the money. And then he was listening to the radio, and then this lady said it was her money. She's looking for money, but she will reward. And so he went to his auntie and told his auntie, I heard this woman claiming this money, so let's give it to the lady. Now, he might have been with friends riding in a convoy, but who saw the bag and who picked the bag up?
The girl
That is,
picked the bag up. Accordingly, they asked the girl to go down and get the bag because the rider would have had to park the bike totally
yes.
to get on to go get the bag. So he wanted to stay in motion. So he asked the female passenger to go get the bag.
But the thing is, I don't think we should accuse Emmanuel of someone who is so desperate for media or for attention,
That's not. I
because
don't
that's
think
what
that's
it seems to be. I
that's
think
not
it
the
is.
background,
I think
Doctor Red. The background is his family. Uh, I guess just decided to brush everybody else off and whisk him off to
and this,
Morovia
yeah,
to be
but
with the
this been
president.
going on. This been going on for a week when that happened. All the other friends, they did not come forward, even though they interviewed this young man. But the friends that didn't come up. But I just believe that the money or the reward that is now involved is somehow driving. That is the motive behind it, driving other people. And besides that, those young men, they have families too that pushing them. Say, hey, all of you are together. We can also claim that you off we all of you fund the money, and so they wanted not the limelight, but they want part of that, maybe scholarship money or opportunity that this boy has gotten. But
Because
all
the
all
man
in
gonna be
all,
paid $500 every month.
yeah, but all in all, that's the whole thing about poverty, suffering, hardship. Those boys are all the way from the interior part or the rural part of our country, and they have never lived in Monrovia before. I mean, and coming to the city to get that kind of a opportunity for them. I mean, their parents or their family members, pushing them to say, hey, you have to claim attention too. You have to get some of that money. And I don't think that Emmanuel is so selfish because he shared the money that was given, the reward that was given initially by the woman who had earned the money, or who got the money. He shared with his friends. But I think there is something behind this whole thing that we might not know why these guys are coming up. But again, I just think it is not a good idea to kind of a dent Emmanuel's reputation somehow, because that's what's going on. They're trying to call me a liar now, claiming glory, and I think it is not good at all. It's not good at all. And whoever pushing whatsoever they are pushing because of money involved or rewards involved, they need to stop that. They really need to stop that. They need to talk behind closed door to see how they can resolve that, because this Emmanuel man has been declared as the integrity czar of the country. And just to kind of pin some sort of black brush or paintbrush on him, not saying he lied, he's not alone. We all found it, and it has been about a week, almost a week, and they haven't
Yeah.
said any other thing.
But here, what is it, Alex? The other guy, Emmanuel, thought was in one of the videos, and he was not brushed away by Emmanuel Tuloe. In fact, they call each other brothers, and he also gave interviewed. He was the one who graphically what I would call uh, what's the word, man? Described the bag. It was a pink bag. He described contents in the bag. So he was actually involved. He talked about a shirt, a trouser, belt, and the Liberian dollars that were there with the US dollars. So he had his part to play. So but both Emmanuel were the two cyclists that had the other people with them. So how be it, like you said, maybe Tulo was the first person who saw the money right away and asked his passenger, and then everybody got concerned. But again, I don't know what's going to come out of this, but we just try to throw it out here because um, maybe more people will come. Like Masa said, the girl who picked the money up, it could have been a petrol bomb. her life could have ended. So she took the risk to go pick up a bag that no one knew what was in the bag. So, Bishop, I see you smiling. You want to say something quick? Let me unmute you. I
Your
was getting
microphone is
some
off,
kind of,
Bishop.
yeah. Go ahead,
There you
Bishop.
go.
You good?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good.
All right.
You are good, Bishop. We can hear you.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you for allowing me to say something.
But you
You
got it. You got
know,
it. Okay, good.
this whole episode, I do not think it was pre-staged. I think it's something that actually happened. And I also see the social dimension in which it is going and understanding how people think and behave. All of those things have to be brought into a picture. I do not even think that the call by the president uh, uh, to acknowledge and reward in terms of the specifics were even known to Emmanuel and his family. Now, I do also believe that they may have had what Massa mentioned, some missteps. But I think looking at the person, Emmanuel, just how he included the others, I think as a young man, he would also include uh, the others when it comes to what he received from the president. Uh, it was not premeditated, and so it is only human for even the family members of those other people, I think, to kind of push them and say, hey, listen, Emmanuel is getting all the attention. You don't sit down here and do nothing about it. And so I think those other persons, including his friend, I may be wrong and I stand to be corrected. I think his friend, the other Emmanuel now is now being pressured by some other people to say, you got to say something, you got to do something. But I think the key here for us is Emmanuel Tuloe display honesty. Emmanuel Tuloe is the principal character. And so I think they should give him the benefit of the doubt and maybe at a close door family meeting come together and let's talk about it. And even moving forward, Emmanuel Tuloe should also mention their involvement and then can learn a lesson from this. Even whenever or wherever he is called, he should also include the rest of the people. And I don't think it should be capitalized on that he's trying to exclude them or sideline them. I don't think that is his thought. So let's take it in good faith. Let's advise him and the rest of the guys moving forward. This is what needs to be done. But I don't think we should draw something negative out of it because it was not his intention. What the president gave him, I don't think Emmanuel knew the president would have come out and say, hey, listen, for this noble deal, this is what I'll do with A, B, and C. Having said that, once the president has said it, the rest of the people now are being prompt. You could have been
Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
And
You're right,
it's a
Bishop.
human tendency.
I think you're right.
It's
I
a human
think
tendency.
Hello.
And so
it's
the
a lot.
family members or other people are saying, yeah, come on, you go for
And,
it.
and
And they are putting them now. But with the same spirit of integrity and honesty, I think the families should come together. And I think
thank
Emmanuel, from what I see, he will be open and kind enough to allow others to benefit. He has already demonstrated that whatever remitter was given to him, he shared it. There's a character right there. So when it comes to sharing anything as of the time the president have come in and moving forward, I think he will be open to doing so. So we
thank
applaud
you.
Emmanuel. We
We
applaud
we we
Emmanuel.
we,
And
we
last
at
night,
our intermission.
we,
We are at our intermission. We want to remind our listeners and viewers, wherever you are in the issues room here on Facebook, YouTube. Live will broadcast on Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The crew is Volcano Shelton, Massa Washington, Moses Sandy. Again, we want to encourage you to share our link, invite a friend, join us. Theo N. Sompon Jr., we say welcome. Thomas Waji, one of our avid viewers, we say welcome. John Dudu, James Davis, Josephine Harmon, Hassan Kiewu, Steve Quare, all you folks, welcome to the Issues Room tonight. Gabe Tucker and Precious Carolyn Smith, we still welcome. Continue to invite a friend, share the link. The discussion here is about integrity and honesty as displayed by Emmanuel Tuloe, a young man who found 50,000 United States dollars, including some Liberian dollars, kept it for a few days and was able to turn it to its rightful owner. However, he met with President Weah, and now we're hearing other parties want to bask in the glory and tint this whole thing. So we have in studio tonight Mr. James Koiyan. He is of ULAA, Bishop George D. Harris of the Philadelphia Church Ministries International, and Dr. Alexander Red of the Gracious Hope Bible Fellowship here discussing tonight. Moses, coming.
Yeah, now I would like for us, I don't know if you have that video ready, if we can now transition to Emmanuel's meeting with President Weah.
I don't think it's necessary, Moses. Everyone's seen it already. I think because we are 30 minutes away to closing time. So I think
Okay.
let's utilize the good deeds of our guests here tonight, their expert knowledge, as we
Mhm.
discuss the issue of integrity. What we wanted to establish is that the two guys were together in one of the interviews. I think everyone knows that he met with President Weah. He got scholarship up to the master's level. He got $10,000. He got two motorbikes, and he's put on payroll to receive $500 a month.
$100
They are
monthly.
they're
Yeah.
making arrangement to have a dwelling place in Monrovia. His aunt made an appeal in front of the president. I gotta be here to take care of my nephew to make sure he go to school. So don't forget me now, Mr. President. So all of that in the package. So that's the
So,
package.
Yeah,
so,
so okay, so that's good, but I would just like to say this, like most people, I think the action of the president is highly commendable. It reinforces our positive behavior in Liberia. We want to change our people for the better.
I want to pray.
In Liberia, the issue of dishonesty is more like a culture. Everywhere you turn, there's dishonesty in the family, in the church, in public places as well. So, what I would like to propose to President Weah that hey, we highly appreciate what he has done, but I think Emmanuel has now elevated the talk of integrity in Liberia at a different level. So I think it is important for Mr. Weah and his administration to seize this opportunity and begin to go after the corrupt in government. Um, in the international community, the Weah administration has a blemished character. The government is profoundly corrupt. Recently, a U.S. senator referred to the Weah administration as a kleptocracy. So, if Mr. Weah is to be seen as a champion of honesty, then he must begin to take those tough actions in going after individuals that are undermining his administration, individuals that are literally looting the resources of Liberia. There are several other reports in that country that Mr. Weah must begin to act on. The $25 million, which the government claimed to have used for a mobile exercise that ended in fiasco. Mr. Weah must begin to hold those individuals accountable. Mr. Weah must go after the individuals who also misapplied the $30 million that was set aside as COVID relief fund. Mr. Weah must begin to go after other individuals that also were undermining the economy of Liberia. Because as we say in communication, the medium is the message. So if there's a problem of believability, if Mr. Weah is now a champion, is now promoting someone that he consider an integrity czar, if he's promoting this individual, then it would just make a lot of sense for him to begin to hold public officials in Liberia accountable. That would be my advice.
Thank you, Moses. Just before Masa comes in, the number to call is 484-292-4397. 484-292-4397. We look forward to hearing from you, our audience tonight. Call in the issues room and engage in the conversation. Masa?
Okay, let me just say that what I think Emmanuel did uh, was honesty. He was honest when he said we in his first video. He was honest when he said we found the money and we took it to our mom. The mom meaning that there's a market woman in the community that they all respect. They say all the motorcycle boys, they got their moms and stuff, not necessarily their biological, parents. So and they took it there and everything. And at that time, he was with his colleagues. There was no conflict. So honesty is, the act of being truthful and sincere. But integrity is doing the right thing at all times, meaning that you have strong moral principles, that you know who you are. Shakespeare said, know thyself. You know who you are. You cannot be bought. You will do the right things. And people who have integrity, they're very good for the workplaces because they will uphold any companies or any job place code of conduct. They will stick to what the code of conduct say. They will stick to the Constitution of Liberia, what the Constitution says, and stuff like that. So honesty is telling the truth, speaking the truth that yes, this thing happened. And integrity is upholding that truth at all times and maintaining dignity at all times. I just wanted that to be clear. So where I am with this, again, is if I was the president, I will extend this same gesture of kindness and honor that he's bestowed upon Emmanuel. I will extend it. First, I think they should still try to find the rest of the people who were dead. It's the second Emmanuel and maybe who else, because the government got enough money. There's enough scholarship to go around. I do agree with you guys. Emmanuel seems he's a humble person and he seems kind and everything, but then his scholarship is non-shareable. He cannot share his scholarship with his colleagues much as he would love for them to be in school with him, to have scholarship all the way from grade school to a master's level. So I think it would be a good thing for the president to also extend this, this honor and this kind gesture to these other young men, at least give them a scholarship and something, give them one bite so that they are encouraged and that others who are watching them will also be encouraged, because for the fact that they were with Emmanuel and they were not able to convince each other, say, oh, my man, let's steal this money, let's run to Ghana, whatsoever. For the fact that they kept this money and they were waiting to find the owner to turn this money over to that person is admirable, it's dignified, and it will be a good thing for all of them. You understand?
Let me get a caller in, Masa. There's a caller on the line. The caller is James Davis, calling from Harrisburg. Am I right?
Yeah.
Could you speak a little louder? You're in studios.
You getting me?
Yeah, you're fine. You're following the topic. What's your contribution?
Yeah, my contribution, you are talking about integrity and saying the truth. So I think when the manual was given from the president, he should have included the other people. He said it was number one. But now you're saying my one is taking the glory. Because how can he pass the scholarship when the scholarship was only given to him one? And only he alone was put on payroll. So now look at the people that charter the car, that charter the motorbike. The lady that charter the motorbike for their family to travel. You don't think they need to take the credit? Because they charter the motorbike. They were taking married them to where they're going. It was not married them, they didn't sit down on their own, they were riding, they saw the money. Somebody chartered them, so they were honor somebody when they were going. So those people should have credit too. So not only one get a scholarship, he's raising money, he's not thinking about the other person. See what happened to the other Emmanuel that came out. He said they were total fakes, but the other Emmanuel not talking about they were fake. And from the beginning, see the other Emmanuel, both of them were on the interview. Why would he forget about a friend when he was going Morovia? Why he couldn't contact them? Well, two of them were riding the motorbike together. They were chartered by somebody to carry them to another location when they found the money. What about the people that chartered them? They used that money to charter them. They paid them. They were not free.
Thank you.
So that's my contribution. So
Thank you, James. Thank you.
integrity in marriage should be fair to all the other people. Thank you.
Thank you. Uh, Mr.
Well,
Mr. Kuyon.
yeah, I think we kind of misinterpreting or probably taking the thing from a different angle. I don't think Emmanuel has been dishonest yet. Emmanuel said it. When we took the money back, we gave her $1,500. He took 33.33% of that money and gave the 67% to the rest of the folks. If he was selfish enough, he would have kept all the money. Now, BBC interviewed Emmanuel Tuloe. Did they interview Emmanuel, what other Emmanuel name? Did they interview any other person? He was in the limelight. And I don't think he's selfish enough, he's not going to share this money. But the fact that, like Bishop said, somebody is probably pushing the other guy, say, okay, go there, they're going to give you all the money. You don't sit by, you got to make public announcement about I was there and I was not there. You know, it's kind of shaping the entire conversation. But let me say this. You know, Liberia, our country is in a conversation. Right now we are in a conversation about integrity. I go to Liberia every year, if not twice a year. If you stay here in America or any part of the world and you send your money to your brother and sister to build your house, you go by them, you can't find the house, you can't see the money. So it is not just those working in government. I heard Mr. Sandy saying, well, the president has to do this and do that about public officials. Listen to me. It starts with us, the citizens, ordinary citizens. The fact that we're not honest with ourselves, we push public officials into corruption. Go sit on the Summit 12 house tonight. They are down to 12 midnight, waiting for him to give the arms. How many money does Summit work for? Go to any minister's house. Go to senator's houses. Go to representatives. The population make the officials corrupt because they themselves are involved in the high level of corruption. So the issue of corruption or integrity or honesty, we got to start from the bottom to the top. Let's elevate this conversation. Let's bring in ourselves as citizens of our country. You got elections, the very citizens themselves are involved with trying to steal the process to benefit one single politician. You know, you go to business. If I went to the library as some Lebanese man, a citizen will go and front for me, take money from me, go and bribe, register a business I need, and put me in the business because I think I'm working for him. It is my money as a Lebanese man. This level of honesty in our country is so bad that the entire population, we need to begin this crusade from ourselves. Start talking to our people, educating ourselves. You can't do this. Do not front for Lebanese man. The business policy says you can foreigner can do certain business. Go to how many Liberians do business for Lebanese people? So I believe that our country is in a conversation. We need to continue this conversation, and probably every media institution, since they are elevating these issues here, media institutions should actually get in the limelight. Civil service institutions, public institutions. Let us begin to make this an issue in our country, calling people out by name and maybe putting them to shame. Perhaps it's actually going to help.
Thank you. I have a caller on the line. Let me bring that caller in. The caller is Gabe Tucker, calling from Texas. Yeah, Mr. Tucker, you got to speak over.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just speak a little louder. You've been following the discussion.
Oh, okay.
What's your contribution?
Well, my thing is, this is just an observation. I noticed in one of the photo ops, Senator Prince Johnson and a few other politicians who were front and center for the photo ops with the president. And my thing is that if the senator would have taken his time to investigate or investigated what happened and who was involved, all those young men, it could have been a very beautiful story. You know, a bunch of young guys who are honest and have integrity instead of just Mr. Emmanuel. It could have been a bigger story, you ask me. It was just an observation, you know, those politicians are just, you know, trying to be up front and center, you know, taking photo ops and all that. But
Thank you.
they've blown an opportunity to showcase the youth, not just Mr. Emmanuel. You see, so that's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Thank you. A caller from a 202, last four number 0067. Hello?
Yes, hi everyone. This is Precious Smith. How's everyone doing?
We're good. We're
Good,
good.
good,
Everyone's
good,
good. We've
Precious.
been following the discussion. What's your contribution?
Yeah, yeah. So I want to say a few things to add to the conversation. One, on the issue of corruption, what is going on. I've often said that it starts from home. What we see at home, what our guiding parents, however we call them, are displaying to reflection on others. What I think it builds on us in terms of our character, so to speak. Another thing here I think we should look at is what I call humility. And I would hope that the other Emmanuel, the second Emmanuel, who came it just seemed to me, if you ask me, I think listening to his interview, his motive seemed to be centered more towards what he can get. Because at the end, when he was asked, what is it you want to do for you all? I want my share. And if he considered the first Emmanuel as a brother, most time when your brother is in the spotlight, you step back, you know. And it says the first Emmanuel character, it says a lot about his integrity, his character, his humility. And something tells me in the long run he was going to look out for his friends. And I think it's about time that people learn humility. Sometimes it's not going to be all about you. If it's your friend in spotlight and you step back, and maybe it's a challenge too to our bishop and pastors and our community leader listening. Maybe, we need to start teaching perhaps ethics in the school, have something to teach people about ethics that includes humility. So pretty much that's my contribution for tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Precious. So quickly, I think she pointed some very good pieces here. When she talked about this other Emmanuel is trying to get in the limelight, he's trying to get his piece of the pie. He could have stepped back because younger Emmanuel may take the other motorbike and give it to him, but he's already jumping the guns. But the other thing here that Gabe Tucker talked about, and I think that's important, the representative himself, whose district these young men live, didn't do his homework well. Okay, uh, and then Senator Prince Johnson, they wanted to be in the limelight. They all ran to the president because, oh yeah, we got to go meet the president, and I believe Johnson Gueglo, all of them were there and represented in my county. So yeah, some mistakes were made, but I think Precious' point is good. We are 8:19. This conversation is good. What do we do? Add another 15 minutes and go at 8:45. Is your consensus?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the consensus here. So we've already covered enough grounds. We talked about the integrity piece. We talked about what the image is for our country. Moses came in and talked about the president gesture is commendable, or the other panelists, but said also that this example that he set must not just stop with Emmanuel, but he must begin to hold people accountable. And sometimes when we hold these kinds of conversation, there's no way we cannot bring in history. History. There were people who had integrity died the other day from, the LRA, and so it's not a new phenomenon. There are people who are in places in Liberia today, despite the poverty or despite the hardship that they're undergoing, they're still holding and maintaining integrity. And some people go to the length and breadth that they lose their lives, and we've seen it in recent times. How does this add up to everything that we're trying to do? The Yinswa Batin who died mysteriously, the four auditors who died mysteriously. Those people were in positions of integrity, financial integrity, and they lost their lives. Anyone can come in.
We need to investigate. As a government, we need to investigate and get to the core of those matters. The people need to know what happened to those people. The police must investigate. The government, the national security must investigate. Again, this is where I want to appeal to President Weah that look, he has elevated Emmanuel now to a different level. Let him use this opportunity that he means business in terms of fighting graft in Liberia. Let the cases of those auditors, let government move on those cases aggressively. People want to know the whole culture of impunity. People do stuff and just walk away because of political connection. Again, like you guys were saying earlier, uh, the issue of graft in our country is a systemic problem. It's in the homes. You give the woman will cook, she takes the best of the food and give it to someone else. In the church, people pay what? Tithe, people make donations. And what happened? Our church leaders don't even write they don't write reports. When you ask for a report, you become an enemy of the pastor. Community organizations, people collect money, no one accounts. He who raises concern about these issues, the person is considered a troublemaker. So we have a systemic problem. Emmanuel now has taught us a new lesson that we need a behavioral change in our country. And I think we should all, begin to work towards modify our behaviors for the best.
Bishop.
Can I come in? Oh, okay.
Oh, Alex, coming. Alex, coming.
Okay. Yes. And we all know what is wrong with our country because some of us we have physically experienced what it means to suffer, what it means to be a victim of political ploy or to be a victim of telling the truth. We understand that the government, when we say government, not just one of the presidents of government. The government has three branches. It has the executive, the legislative branch, as well as the judiciary. Now, we can call on the president to act, but the president cannot act because he has to give the responsibility belongs to other arms or, how would I say, agencies of the government. Now, our brother on this show from ULAA said earlier, if we want change or if we want the truth, let it start from ourselves. We have to examine ourselves because without the truth in our own lives, we can criticize, we can say where we want to change, but change requires action. And so it is true that we need investigation, we need honesty, we need people with integrity to be part of the government, or we need for every one of us, whether it is in the church or in the government or in any organization, in order for other us to function well or for us to live in a decent society, change starts with us, each of us, each of us. And Jesus said that from the beginning, in the book of John, he said that if you learn and you obey and you know the truth will set you free. Now, people read that verse and they tend to overlook what Christ says from the beginning. He said, if you learn and you obey. So if you learn to obey means you have to have the spirit of humility. Now, pride is a big problem in our country. One, two, we know that truth is missing in our country. But again, with everything that is going on, whether this young man, comes up to be the czar of integrity, I believe that there's a reason why God allowing this to happen. So we can do soul searching, each and every one of us, that the source of everything that is going in our country, that is wrong with our country, is not just one person, or we should finger point this person or finger point to that person. We can do our part. How do we start? Where do we start from? And it's a matter of sin that indwells in us. And so again, we can sit and argue, we can sit and say any other thing, but death, mysterious death, and every other thing, corruption, those things just don't come to the front page or for the forefront. It starts from within. So it's a matter of healing. It's a matter of repentance. It's a matter of crying out to God to change each and every one of us. It's a matter of we acting on what we call integrity and honesty. And Paul makes it very clear in the book of Galatians chapter 6. He said we should wear the belt of truth. If we have that belt of truth around our waist, then that's a way that we can fight against the enemy or every other thing that is going on. Without the truth, we become vulnerable and we become prey to temptation and all the turmoil that is happening in our country. So if we talk about integrity, we want for our government, public officials to be honest and be fair to people and understand the essence of justice, then we all must start somewhere, whether it be in our organization or wherever we find ourselves in position of influence or power. And so I just say here that yes, Emmanuel may be a symbol, or his action or his show of virtue might be a symbol of what it means to be honest. What does not belong to you, you give it back to the owner. Yes, let us just not look at the money alone, but we must look at what God is doing through that young man to show us, every one of us, even the president of Liberia, that we all need to work together. And everybody has a part. But again, we have the tendency of throwing all the weight on one person. I even say the president owns everything. No, it's not. If we look at our constitution, look at all the branches of government. So let other people play their own part, and let us try to encourage other people that are within the government, and not just throw all the weight or all the blame on one person. That's what I gotta say.
Thank you, Dr. Red. Just before anyone else comes in, Mr. James David, or Davis rather, has asked a question, and the question is: say I am a tax collector, and I've been sincere collecting taxes, government taxes. Now, President Weah decided to pay Emmanuel $500 a month, and the tax collector who collecting the taxes making $250. He said, "What do you expect me to do now?" So I
Continue.
think, Bishop, you were right when you said the president was too quick to, give all the details around what he was going to do for the young man, because all of these things are probably the reasons why now people are coming to the forefront. And I think that's an honest question. Here's a young man who is a seventh grader, going to be on government payroll, making $500 a month. Of course, he deserves it for the fact that he displayed integrity. But a tax collector who has to play or display also integrity, collecting government's tax and turning it over, is making less than him. That's the disparity. That is the issue. So all of these things going to come up in the coming days, and this water going to get so muddy. It's going to get dingy. It's going to get mulchy, whatever it is. So we should be prepared to have this discussion, not just today, but in the coming weeks, in the coming months, as I see it. Yeah. So who's coming in? Dr. Red, when, Bishop, or Masa?
Well, let me comment because I have to go in the next few minutes.
Okay.
Um, yeah, permit me. Again, this episode is lengthy and it's not a one-day shot. There are a lot of streams attached to it. And to keep our focus, there's a little saying, there are or an old adage, when you hold rope or butch, okay, in the Liberian palette, we understand what that means. From a positive standpoint, I think one of the speakers mentioned this pandemic in our system, in our culture, needs to be seen as a real pandemic. And with all of these things taking place, it takes time, it takes wisdom, it takes humility. There are various factors that must be brought into play. And so, all we can say, the focus on Emmanuel, the appreciation by the president, those are all noble deeds. The issue of the system is another episode altogether. The Bible says, if the foundation be destroyed, what shall the righteous do? Someone responded by saying, you break it down. You see, Liberia has come a long way. And if things will be corrected, all of us must understand, each and every one of us, we have a part to play. Not only is it that we have inherited a lot of negatives, but we are also building on those things for the next generation. How we build during this season is very, very critical. It's very, very critical. If things will be resolved, beginning with the home, what are the values that are being placed in the home? What are the teachings that we're giving in the home? What are the teachings we're giving in the churches? What are the teachings we're giving in our schools? There's a complete need to overhaul all of these things. So having said that, I say this discussion is so good and so healthy, but keeping our focus, we applaud Emmanuel for the noble deed, and we pray that he and his colleagues can come to some reasonable conclusion, and then we can encourage the positive that we can get out of this. I want to say thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Bishop Massa.
Okay.
So
Another question.
Yes,
thank you, Bishop Harris. Thank you so much for joining us.
And Bishop Harris, I will be contacting you soon. I want to discuss something with you.
All right, thank you. I'm available. Just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you, Bishop.
Okay, so I would like to look at the entrenched culture of impunity that is like a cancer that has been eating up the Liberian society forever and ever. We do not have respect. When I say we as a people, not necessarily you and me per se, but our society does not seem to have respect for the rule of law. Moses stated the issue of all these people that died mysteriously. The investigation, some of those investigations are still, up in the air. And it's not like, I say to Liberians all the time, I would be the first to say that if you ask me to list the names of some Liberians who I think are credible, I can start naming names right now. I have faith in a lot of Liberians. So we have people who are credible, we have people who are decent, who want to do the right things, and we have people who have tried to do the right things. But because of the entrenched culture of impunity, the decent people, the few, a handful of decent people in our society, they get penalized. Like, for example, someone talked about the bottom up. Okay, corruption doesn't start from the top. I've been saying it forever and ever. Volcano, you and myself had a discussion. Corruption does not start from when you employ someone as a public official. It starts from the community. Like, for example, the market woman in the market who is selling rice, she would beat the butt of the rice cup underneath the cup. She would beat it in so that when she sells the rice to you, you get less quantity, for the money you pay. Yeah. The woman who sells fish, she sells her fish all day. The fish is getting rotting. What does she do? She puts it on ice. And you buy it the next morning. By the time you take the ice off it, your food is rotting. You've wasted your money. Okay? And what we've done as a country is we have had some decent integrity institutions that have done certain work that the Liberian people and government have asked them to do. Like, for example, the GAC of former auditor John Modu. I was there and I saw how hard John Modu and his GAC work, the General Auditing Commission at the time. All of those reports there, the recommendations, they were never implemented. The TRC, I served as one of the commissioners on the TRC, and the work was not an easy work. We worked our behinds off. At the end of the day, what happened? It's been 11 years. Nothing has happened with the recommendations of the TRC that is calling for accountability for the gross human rights violations that have taken place, including the opening of pregnant women's stomach. When you talk about it, people insult you, but people vote in on the basis of tribal lines, okay, and what quick fix they think they can get. They vote in these very perpetrators. But then when they see you out in the community, they say, oh, Commissioner, you keep pushing this thing. Oh, this mayor killed my man. Oh, this mayor raped my sister. So the lack of impunity in the Liberian community is killing us. It's not like we don't have decent people. It's not like we don't have decent laws. It's not like we don't have reports that are waiting to be implemented. But it's the lack of impunity because nothing happens when nothing happens. We need
Thank you, Massa. Let me just say this quick. The Liberian man is one of the most adaptable men. And I say this because I know for myself. Alex, James, Moses, you all know where we come from. And if we can thrive in this country and follow the rules and the laws and the books and the policies, Liberians can do same. right there in Liberia. It's just a matter of holding them accountable, putting in place the principle and having the right kind of people to implement those things. Because when you think about it, the folks that go into government, we expect that they will be the trailblazers and the trendsetters of honesty, of dignity, of hard work. But these are the very folks who, many of them, you will find in the drinking spots around the city. Their cars are blocking the load alleys that we have to plow. They're spending time there in public places, representatives sitting there and drinking beer. They don't care who's looking at them, the pictures. And these are the things that erode the dignity of their positions, the dignity of where, you know, where this country should be going and the people who trust them to put them there. And 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 I think that it's not just about taking money, but it's also upholding the principles, the rules, the laws on the books, you know, the policies in place. Those are the things that matter, because when those things are held in place, then you'll be afraid to take the money. But when all other instruments that will hold you accountable tend to flaw, then of course it makes it easy. How can you just, you know, take the country money like that and just build your own private universities, and then you know, build your own church, build your own estates, and we know where you came from. We know how much you had when you came to government. We know these things. And so I think the Liberian man is adaptable. It's just a matter of us utilizing these instruments and holding ourselves accountable. And that's my 2 cents. James, I think you want to chime in. I saw you nodding. Coming.
Andy, so as I said earlier, Master alluded to that also. This conversation has to start from the bottom up. We've got the laws on the books. How many of our government officials are following the laws? Look at the issue of the how you call it, the code of ethics or the code of conduct. How many government officials have signed onto the code of conduct? How many are abiding by the code of conduct? I mean, so the corruption in our country is going to be a conversation for a long time unless we start from the bottom up. And I was telling you about going to Liberia every year. If you stay here and want to do business back home, you'll be putting money in the very deep well without any returns. You know, you want to build a house and you stay here send your money back home, forget it. I mean, there are stories of folks who send money back home, thousands and thousands of dollars back to Liberia to build their houses, and get to go back, no land, no house. Mm-hmm. That's not government. That's just our own family members, relatives, and friends who are doing these things here. So this conversation about honesty and integrity in our country, is a long conversation. We need to continue to talk about it. But Emmanuel's effort, what Emmanuel did, has not elevated the conversation. So if you're in school, I built a school in Liberia that's currently operating. I just spoke with one of my, we have a meeting tomorrow, every week. And I plan to tell them, look, we need to now, I said it before, I think it has even become more urgent now to include on the curriculum. Let us teach our children about honesty, about integrity. You know, if you want to do that class, let me do it once a week. Because if we start from the school back to the homes, I believe we are going to make some headways. But again, like we all said, it's a real tough battle to fight.
It is. It is a tough battle, and you know, the government is there to provide a necessary atmosphere for, you know, security, jobs, and all the basic, may I say, employment, because we have the youth population is on the verge, which means they are increasing, and most of those young people don't have anything to do, no work, nothing to do. So we all hope and pray that that people who are in position or influence will see reason why the country must progress, and it can only be done so if they are accountable, if they understand what it means to be a public official and what they are put in office or voted for to do. If they can do it to the utmost best, to the best of their ability, we'll see our country moving forward.
And Alex, you said
Yeah.
something just before I come to Moses. You said something, and I think the honest truth here is if each of these public officials can take two or three kids and be responsible for them and be surrogate fathers or mentors, that will
Hmm.
change the trajectory of where our youth go. Because I tell you, you haven't been to Liberia, but you'll be surprised, Alex. James been there, Moses hasn't, Massa just came. For us who've gone there, you everywhere you turn is young people. When you land in Monrovia and you get outside of the airport, the young people are everywhere, jumping on your bag. If you're not strong, they would drag you in a bag. And not that they don't mean to help in good faith, but this is the way they can find something to eat.
Hmm.
And then you see all of them, and then as you drive along, even in our dark Ralphie Highway, on our dark Ralphie Highway, drinking spots all along the road. So young people, all the way until you reach the Morovia. Our days were in school. That time of the night we were studying for the next day. That is not the case. So the society is corroded by all of these negative things, and yet we found one man, one young man, 19 years old, who could have said, "This is my break." He made a difference. But again, our public officials, those people who continue to corrupt the country, should take some of that corrupt gains and put it back into our young people. Moses?
Yeah, and just quickly, Moses, before you start, I
Mhm.
just want to make this point. The downside of this whole thing about the president and other people rewarding this young man, the downside of it is that what if tomorrow someone else finds money and gave it, or maybe something else? Would the president call that person and give the person scholarship? So setting a president is something that I believe there's a downside to that too, because anybody could do something maybe different from what Emmanuel did. With the president now set this whole stage, will he keep giving people scholarship or money or rewarding them for that?
Well,
And I think that's why the bishop said he was quick to disclose all of the good things that he presented to this young man. Maybe most of those things should have been behind closed door. Because one of the things that really going to have more on the discussion is the $500 salary. This
Hmm.
young man is a seventh grade dropout.
yeah.
I went to school, hustle, got my master's, and I'm still hustling and making $300 in a very, deplorable situation. Still can make ends meet. And I mean, so a lot gonna happen. Moses,
Yeah. Well, look. I would not fault the president for doing what he did. Um, the president action um, is seen as a positive reinforcement. When you want to make change in society, you encourage people. And what Emmanuel did, it is unusual in Liberia. I even want to say in Africa. The issue of dishonesty is not unique to Liberia. It is a profound problem on the African continent. It is a problem because of the lack of opportunities.
Yeah, I
Most
agree.
people in Liberia, most people, you guys talk about the young people. We just don't have opportunities for these people. You have a government, and one of the foremost responsibility of any government is to provide for those who lack the means of providing for themselves. And we have an administration, and that is not unique to we as administration. It is an age-old problem. Our national leaders make no allocation for our young people. So as a result, what happens? You see people hanging around the Roberts International Airport, hanging around political parties, hanging around ghettos, because that's how they survive.
zigwe, zigwe, zigwe.
That's what they do. They are exploited. These young people are exploited. Now, coming back to the issue of corruption, human behaviors are learned. What we do today is what we saw our parents doing. The issue of being respectful, saying hi to somebody, sharing, those are things that our parents did. And that's what we copied. And we are also teaching our children the same thing. So now, if we're going to change for the better, like all of you have said, we have to start at the family level. You will agree with me, there are homes in Liberia that, as we always say, pay the provides the full the full money, right? You get my money to cook for you. And some of them, what do they do? Some of the women, what do they do? You get a woman $200 Liberian dollars. She uses $150 and keep the other $50 for herself. You come home, the food is what? Inadequate for everybody. Because she didn't use all of the money. Like James was saying, you send your brother,
But
say
maybe you should be giving the woman
$1,000.
stopping too. If you're not giving the woman stopping only full money, how you think she will buy a little personal
No,
stuff?
but no, that's a different thing. That's a different thing for Canada. I gave you the money for food. So instead of using the money for food, you use $150. So it means that you already what? Cheated the family by what? $50 Liberian dollars. And this woman will keep that. On a weekday basis, we're talking about what? $350 Liberian dollars that woman will put aside. Just for cheating. And you do the math now.
But you'd be surprised the woman being the nurturer may bring that $350 when you turn dry and can't leave anything home, but you will come home and leave food.
No, but it still defeats the purpose. It still defeats
Right,
the
Alex?
purpose. The condition under which you raise the $350 is just wrong.
Okay.
She should tell you, say, hey, you know what? You give me $200, but I'm going to use $150 and I will keep $50. Then as a dad, you are aware that there's a saving. But if mom is not telling you, then she's being dishonest. So not to hold you guys with a length to talk, but I think we need to begin to teach you honesty at the family level, at the community level, in the public areas, in the churches, in the various community organizations that we are part of. Let us begin to do this.
All right.
That's the way forward.
Yes, I would say quickly, Moses, let's just elevate your analogy about the wife, who's holding back some of the food money for the family. Let's just bring it to the national level, not necessarily this government, because this government inherited, I keep saying this government inherited a lot of what, they're dealing with, in addition to some of the lapses, they've also committed themselves. But so imagine now, so you are a father in the home, you are a husband, you're abusive towards your wife, you don't take care of her, you don't give her allowance. It's like before she gets anything from you, she got to be pinching here and there whatsoever. But then you, after work, you at the drinking spot, you're sitting on the sidewalk for everybody to see you drinking. You got girlfriend sitting on your lap or whatsoever. So let's bring it to the bigger picture. So I will be very careful. I think it was Buchanan or somebody who said we need to encourage our officials to start taking some of these young guys, maybe 2-3 of them, to mentor them.
Yeah, becoming surrogate dads and mentors.
Yes. Well, in the first place, I wouldn't be hasty though. Again, we have some very decent people in government. I know some of them. And this discussion is not about this government per se, but it's just the general concept of the kinds of administrations we've had. Okay. So for some of the people who are the leaders in the country now, I would not trust. I have a cat here. His name is Kado. I love him so much. I would not trust my cat to any of them. More or less to mentor, because look at some of the people, history and track record. Look how some of them came to office. Look at some of the things they have done. We have some mass murderers, okay? People who have openly, people who have witnesses all over the place who can point and say, I was there when you killed my sister, my pa. I was there when you raped my sister. Let's look at our current leadership. A lot of these people are questionable. You have people also who have been indicted, not only nationally, but internationally for massive corruption. Okay. Unfortunately, this is some of the things that impede in our country. So I would be very, very leery to have these kinds of individuals as role models for our people. And unfortunately, because these are the people who are the leaders of our country. So our young people are kind of thinking, you know what, maybe this is the way it should be. Maybe this is the way it should go. So they admire them. When people like you and me speak about some of these things, people cuss us out. Someone just cussed me out last week on Facebook. Say, "Oh, you just jealous of so and so because she got money, you got money, or she got big government position, you got it." I just laugh. These are the people who impede, the progress. And our young people, unfortunately, see them as role models because guess what? They have the political power. They've stolen the money. They have the stolen wealth. They can throw it around. They can be opulent and careless. So hey, they are the new role models. But for me, I would not be encouraging any young person.
Thank you.
To look up to some of them as role models. No, I won't.
Thank you. Thank you. So listen, we said we're going to go 8:45. I would just say we're in at 9 o'clock. Please watch your time. It's 9 minutes more to go. So I'll go around the room and let me hear from our guests first to give their little closing statement on what has happened in the last week regarding Emmanuel Tuloe, who is the principal integrity hero. Um, and what this would do for our country, and then we can come back and just wrap up. Alex, let's start with you because I know you got other engagements.
Yes. Well, I think our discussion is healthy for the fact that we are talking about what it means to live uprightly. We are all flawed. We all have flaws, and we know that we are sinners saved by God's grace. And we know God's mercy is what we find or seek every day in our prayer or devotional prayer, and ask for strength and wisdom. It is my hope and prayer that we will seize upon this moment again to reflect on where our spiritual life is with our Lord, who created us for a purpose. I believe that each and every one of us created by God for a purpose or for a reason. And we have some people on the stage right now who are doing what they were created for. For example, Emmanuel, who knows where this man was in an obscure place. Now he's to the limelight as a model for integrity or honesty. When God is using some other people within our society to stand up and be upright. We have some people in our society who are, standing up for the truth and preaching what it means to live right and living ethically and believing and having that conviction in our faith. But looking at our country now, it is a matter of everybody, each and every one of us, to step up to the plate and just give what we are being endowed to do. And I hope this platform will provide an avenue to bring about discussion and myriad of ideas that will help those who will be listening.
Thank you, Alex. James?
Once again, let me say thank you for the invite. We hope we can be back here again to continue similar discussions. We've all said it. This is an issue that has cut across the nation. Everyone is now talking about it on every media platform. Let's now hold Mr. Emmanuel Tuloe liable for the rest of the folks who are now coming up and wanting a piece of the pie. Especially yesterday when Spoon raised pretty close to over $5,000 for him to build a house for his aunt who raised him. These issues of honesty must start again from ourselves as Liberians. We need to put our acts together. We need to get involved with the issue of integrity. If I trust you with my $10, please manage my $10 as much as you can, so that we don't have the issue of doubt. Because where there is ambiguity about how you manage your own affairs, that's the beginning of corruption. Liberia is a gullible society today, and let's pray and hope that, like Dr. Ray said, let's pray and hope that all of us as a nation can begin to understand that we have a role in pursuing integrity. And on behalf of President Kamara of ULAA, I'm sure this is part of his plan to get to the bottom of some of these issues about preaching integrity just within ULAA itself. We had a series of integrity issues. And I'm sure his leadership will kind of push some of these lines to ensure that whatever we do as a group that is checkmating government and other individuals, we can begin to checkmate ourselves and pursue those things that will promote high level of honesty and integrity in our country and community. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
your.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Red. Thank you, Mr. Koiyan. We're going to let you guys go because we're about to wrap up.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here tonight. We appreciate your time. In the issues room, don't be strangers. We'll be reaching out to you guys, especially when we talk about the things that matter to Liberia. Thank you so much.
Thank
So,
Thanks,
uh,
James.
we're wrapping up now. We're just 4 minutes away. Let me start with Masa, and then we'll come back to you, Moses, and then close this
Sure,
up.
sure.
Hold on, Masa. Let me unmute you. Go ahead.
Okay.
You're good.
So as I stated earlier, and I still maintain, the bigger conversation here is that these young people found this money and they turned it in. For me, that's the bigger lesson here. And it's a lesson of being honest and having integrity. Being honest to not only the people around you in your community and the larger society, but even onto yourself. Be honest unto yourself and have integrity. And the way you maintain your honesty and integrity is that you believe, you have a set of values, principles that you stick to, and you know they are right no matter what. And to close, I would really like to see where the president, the rest of them will go further, where they will look at others who were part of this, like the second Emmanuel, and those other women if they should come forth. I would like to see where the president will also extend good graces to them, especially this other young boy. He's also poor, and I'm sure he can use a scholarship, and I'm sure he can use some of the from some of the goodwill. I'm hoping that the president will find the time to do that.
Thank you, Moses. 1 minute.
Yeah, I would like to say that Emmanuel has done the unusual. Whenever we hear about news emanating from Liberia, a good number of the news we get from Liberia, which has to do with integrity, the news is often what? Negative. But Emmanuel has put Liberia on the map. And all of the individuals that were involved in bringing this situation to where it is today, I want to say hats off to them. Emmanuel and this team have elevated the discussion regarding honesty, and the change must begin at the family level for the better. I want to say thank you again, Volcano. Let me also say thanks to our other panelists, Dr. Red, Massa Washington, and my friend and brother James Koiyan of ULAA for joining us on this discussion. Thank you for the opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, the issues room comes to an end. This is the 11th edition of the show. This evening, we looked at the magnanimity of the young man, Emmanuel Tuloe, and others who turned back 50,000 United States dollars plus some other monies in Liberian dollars to the rightful owner, Ms. Musu Yanse, a businesswoman who had lost this money along the highway of one of the major roads in Nima County, and they were able to return the money. Now, of course, there's a lot of controversies coming around who all were involved, and with regards to what's his name, Emmanuel, in the limelight, but that doesn't matter. It's just the fact that they all didn't kill each other and they didn't jump on each other's throat and say, listen, give me my cut and you can carry, you won't be Christian Cole, carry it. They all agreed, they all came to one agreement that this money was belonging to someone. And by the way, they wanted to give this money back to that person. And when you look at Emmanuel, he said it clearly. $50,000 could not change my life. And he was right. What would change his life is what President Weah has done for him, which is an eye opener to many of the young people who think that when they find something, it belongs to them. It's not the finders keepers kind of theory here. So when you find something and you know within your spirit this is too much to take, give it back. Turn it in. Again, we will be back here on Friday with another discussion. We want to encourage you to share our link. It's not about numbers. I don't worry about how many people come to see us. We don't have to be 10,000, 20,000 a night. It's about the content. It's about the discussion. It's about the character. It's about the kind of guests we bring in studios to discuss the issues. And I'm sure that as time progresses, the issues room going to be your platform of choice because it is a professional team. And the hope is you will support, you will continue to encourage others to join us when we come here twice a week, Tuesday, 7 p.m., 11 p.m. GMT, Friday, 7 p.m., 11 p.m. GMT. Again, invite a friend, share the link, share the word. We had a wonderful time tonight. Again, we'll say have a good week. We'll catch up with you on Friday. Volcano Shelton on behalf of Moses, Sandy, and Massa Washington in the Issues Room.